on the floor, go and conquer the day like a warrior, like warriors. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. No need to panic anymore. We got lots of support and an army of warriors by our side. We fight the good fight when we unite. We fight the good fight when we unite. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in.
Hey everybody, my name is Sondra Ray, and I am kind of solo hosting, but not really, because I have all these amazing gentlemen who are going to help me out today. This is a coffee chat show sponsored by Explore ProTech. It has cooled down in the States. We're past our heat wave, yay. At least in my part of the United States. So, and then it was a busy weekend. And I know a lot of amazingness happened over the weekend in the Explore ProTech / Ignite program. So I'm super excited to see the students live on YouTube. Make sure you say hello. I will be there in just a second to welcome you. Peter, how are you today?
Absolutely brilliant. Tired, but brilliant. And I know that the coaches that actually flew with us up to Durban, myself and Hingston knew what to expect because we'd been there before and we'd experienced it, and there's quite an emotional thing attached to it. But I don't think that the coaches didn't know what to expect, so we kind of knew what was going to happen, and then we got there and there was this big buzz, and by the end it's a really good feeling. It's a really good feeling, and the students are they're top notch. All have a passion for a particular purpose, which I think is absolutely brilliant. And the coaches are just the perfect coaches to do the job. So we're really excited.
Awesome, amazing. I know Mr. Levy was part of that. I know Gareth and Megan Deers. Gareth did say, I talked to him earlier and he said Marlon was a part of that. Yeah, awesome. Speaking of Marlon is the expert today. So today we're talking about customer-centric culture. It's tongue-tying me today. It's Monday. I need to drink more tea. So last week we talked about customers and loyalty and building that customer base. And now we're talking about building that culture in your business so you can keep the customers. Obviously, that's the bottom line. You want to keep the customers. You want to keep them coming back. You want them to refer you out. I know in Explore ProTech, we're very good at that. When we get to know each other, of course. That's why it's copy first, business later. So I got to get to know each other, but I do know the people that I've gotten to know. Yeah, we do referrals all the time. So in fact, I had somebody call me again today and going, Miss Somerville, thank you. It's been almost a year now. They've been together. So she's still quite happy with her. And is about every 3 or 4 months calls and tells me thank you. So I think that's amazing. All right. Are you ready, Mr. Marlon? You're going to kick us off with some knowledge, then we'll have a discussion.
Hey, Sondra. I don't know. Look, knowledge and stuff.
Knowledge. Okay, explain what it means. Okay, so if you're not an entrepreneur, what the heck does customer-centric culture mean? Like, start with the basics.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Really privileged to be here. I think this is a great forum, great place for us to just chat and talk about a whole bunch of ideas. And I'll share my thoughts on really what a customer-centric culture is, especially when we talk about culture, it's more of an internal thing. So from the way I see it, within an organization, you could be, a one man or woman army, and what's that culture around you that you create, and then what is that culture if you got, because that same culture will then breed in when you have team, right? And I've been there. I've worked with bigger teams, and it all starts right at the top. So really, it's like, what is it? And especially when you want to keep it customer centric, like I like to share with people that they got to keep their marketing customer centric. It's got to be like, what's in it for them? What's in it for the people that experience you, your product or your service, and how you'd like them to feel after they've engaged with you. And it takes a bit of knowing a bit of who you are first, and then really projecting that forward. Because what a lot of us do is we kind of just get into the mode, and some people are really good at it. My wife is a perfect example of someone who is amazing with people. She just wants to be around people. She just loves people, helping them and getting to know them. And I'm not really like that. I'm like the exact opposite. While I like people, I also love to be by myself a lot. But understanding that when I'm growing a team, when I'm working with customers, is maybe it could start with, especially if you're a solopreneur, maybe setting up your diary in a way that gives you time to have internal time when you're working on yourself, on your business, and then you got external times. Because what ends up happening is you get into the mode of business and you can't really give to your customers properly because you are too stuck in trying to make money or trying to survive. A great example of that was somebody who once called it Superman time and Clark Kent time. So your Clark Kent time is when you're at work, right? And we all in business to kind of do something to make a difference, really. And I mean, that was I think the gentleman will agree with me that a lot of the students that came into Ignite, they want to make a difference. And the problem with making a difference is a lot of the time that doesn't really make money, does it? So the thing is, and that's like your Superman time. So you got to have a clear, Clark Kent is not always Superman, and Superman has to have his time as Clark Kent. So we got to understand what are money making things and set that time for that. And the same thing, when are we saving the world? And putting that time for that. And when you're doing that, you'll actually have more energy to bring to your customers, to bring to your employees, to bring to the game. Because what ends up happening is your diary gets all messed up. You don't know where you are. You don't know if it's Tuesday today, which it isn't. And it's just one of those things. So I'd say start with yourself first. I think that's like the first point, and I'd love to throw it out to the rest of the group. But I think the first point, to start with yourself first, especially if you're solopreneur, figure out where you are. If you've got team and things are getting a bit chaotic, go back to yourself and say, okay, how do I centralize my energy so I can have more for the team, have more for my customers? That's what I've got to say for now at the moment. Thanks.
Thank you, Marlon. The word we use in our house is peopling. When we're done peopling? So like, I also, as far as scheduling your day, I also tell people to know when are they creative? When can they do the mundane task? If you're super creative in the morning, schedule the creativity in the morning. My 3 to 5 in the afternoon, do not ask me to be creative. I'm like done with creativity. I just want to get stuff done. So if you can, not everybody can because they work multiple things. Schedule your day, what works well with your brain. Also, brain dump in the start of the day, so you have it all out of your brain and you start with a fresh brain. That's my other little tip in there. Peter, come on in.
Yeah, I think that the Ignite students in the background are going to refer to that as yakking, because that's what they're currently doing. They're yakking on Let's Yak which is absolutely phenomenal. We're getting a lot of feedback in that space. But I'm going to 100% agree with Marlon. Culture is not something that just pops out of nowhere. It doesn't just start to exist. It has to be built. And if you're going to build it, you have to base it on something. It has to have some kind of foundation. And the foundation of the culture in your space is you. And this is something that Mr. Levy will know, because I think we've come across this topic a lot. Do we do this moving forward, or do we do that? And then the conversation goes around, well, bring it right back to the culture, bring it right back to what were you meant, what is the space meant to do, how is it meant to be delivered? Stay true to your culture, because your culture, if you stay true to it, will actually be the foundation of your entire business or your entire organization, whether you're solo or whether you have large teams or whether you're a huge corporate space. The principle remains the same. So your culture actually becomes almost like your weapon of choice. Your culture can be supported by your values. You stay true to your values. These are things that you can and will do, and these are things that you will not. So it's something that you have to stay true to, but it's also something that when you start as a solo entrepreneur, you're busy building that culture, even though it's just you. There are things within your character that align with you, and there are things that don't. Things that don't, chop them off, because it doesn't align with your space. It doesn't align with you. It will not eventually align with your culture. And if you don't follow that process, you'll end up going from solo to a larger space, and then you'll wonder why it's not working the way that you want it to work, because you didn't stay true to the culture that basically permeates from you. And this is something that Marlon will definitely know, because between Megan and Marlon, there's that space of Megan takes the students through a journey of figuring out who they are, which is an important process of discovering what becomes your culture. So it's not really that complicated. It's quite a simple thing, but I think it's something that people overlook. Like Marlon said earlier, they just get into business mode. Boom, business, and then we forget the culture, and the culture is actually really important, especially if it's going to be customer-centric. Because if you're building a culture that focuses on your customers, but then you build a culture that doesn't care about the customers, does your space work? No, it falls apart. When you hire people, you want to hire them based on those values and that culture, that they fit into that culture. What happens if you hire somebody that doesn't care about your customers? That doesn't work either. So it really has to be a strong foundation, something that's really solid. And sometimes it's painful to stick to it. The most amazing deal comes along, but it just doesn't quite align with your culture. It's a big money maker, but it doesn't align with your culture. Do you do it? Do you not? These are things you have to take into consideration. And I think keeping the culture strong is probably more important than one deal, because it'll affect the entire existence of your entire space moving forward. So I think that opens up the floor to a whole lot more discussion, which is...
I was like, yeah, you went off on a whole new tangent, which is fine. I love that, Peter. I agree. And I've done it both ways. I've done it where I'm like, okay, I have to make money, so I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And every single time I do it that way, it has bitten me in the butt every single time. And then I want to quit my business, literally, like throw the whole thing out, because I'm like, why? I'm miserable. Why am I doing this? Da, da, da. When I work with the people I want to work with and the people that have aligned with my business, I'm happy. I will bust my behind, do what I need to do. But yeah, when it's something that is not aligning, or they don't appreciate, or it just doesn't, like, I like people that appreciate each other, appreciate hard work. Appreciation, it goes a long way with me. So definitely. All right, lots of hands. Yay. I love lots of involvement, and definitely keep asking questions in the live YouTube, please. And thank you, because we want to make sure that you students get value out of this too. Mr. Levy, thank you for coming. I'm like, where are you?
Thanks. Good to see you again, Sondra, and everybody. And I'll just, sure, what Marlon said, I mean, there's not too much left for me to say, because what he said was so true, and Peter as well. So it's something that's like so I cannot emphasize how important culture is. And I've been told, because it's something that extremely strong, and I use in my coaching, whether it's coaching entrepreneurs or leaders or executives, it's the power of culture is incredible. And I've been challenged a lot of times, many times on it. I've been told that it's fluffy. It's all the fluffy stuff. It's been referred to as that. And my answer to that is you're 100% correct. It is fluffy if you don't live it and you're just putting it on the wall and using it as a checkbox exercise. Then you may as well put on a nice picture, because it doesn't really make for a good picture. So rather put on a good picture that inspires your people or yourself when you're coming to work. Yeah, and then, you know, culture, what Marlon said, Marlon, you must speak slow because my shorthand's not so good. I'm making notes as Marlon's talking, and it's like, wow, everything he said is just absolutely spot on. It's really to get people to implement it. And I think with, especially with entrepreneurs, and I say this with the utmost respect because I did this, is you get so caught up in the excitement of what you're going to start and what you're going to build and what you're going to offer, that you forget about all of that and you just go for the business. And I think, as you said, Sondra, it's, and I've experienced it, it'll come back and bite you because it's not sustainable. You might make money in the short term, but generally it's not sustainable because you have no guidance except your product. If you're just going to chase your business from, you know, get out of the starting blocks and chase your business and not take time to build your culture. And the culture is defined by your values. So your values is what do you value in your business? What is non-negotiable in your business? And why does your business exist? Again, and I'm going to emphasize beyond making money. What difference are you making to the world? And I'm not sure if it was Peter or Marlon that said, you know, it's if you're not making a difference to the world, or you're not making a difference, why would people buy from you? That's the first thing. Well, nobody's going to buy from you if you're not making a difference. But you also don't have to save the world. And I think Marlon alluded to that. Just make a difference. Make a difference to one person, and slowly you'll make a difference in the world. But you're not going to save the world. So you can make a change in the world. So that was, and then if you want to test, if you really are living what is really, your values are the biggest contributor to your culture, because it defines how you behave in your business, and everybody behaves in your business. And it also guides your decision making. And that becomes customer-centric. If you behave in alignment with what is meaningful to you and what makes you stand out, you won't attract every person to buy from your business. You will attract those people that align with what you do and with your values and with your purpose and why your business exists. And accept the fact that there are 8 billion people in the world. Not every one of them are going to align with your values and what you do, and not everybody is going to align with your purpose. But if you're very clear about it, you will attract those that do. And there are the people that do that. So that's the one thing I wanted to comment on. The other thing was interesting for me, what Marlon, when he made this comparison with himself and his wife. His wife loves being around people. Marlon, from what I gather, his preference is to work on his own. I think we must just be careful. Either one, there's no right or wrong. It's where they're energized in their space. But both, if they're both in business, both have to deal with people. And so, but just deal with people from who you are, and recognize that when you're doing meaningful work, you prefer to work on your own. And that's when you'll give great value, as Marlon does. And if you're energized in producing valuable work, and you're around, and your energy, it comes from being around people, then create that space for yourself. You want to be in the best possible space. And then another thing that you touched on, which is so important, again, something that I learned, and I know you've probably all heard this 50 times, is looking after yourself. Because if you don't look after yourself, how are you going to provide value to your customers and to the people that work in your business? And even to your family, who you're creating your business, I would imagine, for, to look after yourself, your family, your business, your clients, your people in your business. So if you don't look after yourself, it's pretty irresponsible. And again, I went through that irresponsible stage where I got close to burnout, and the psychiatrist or psychologist that I went to see, amongst everything else, which I'm not going to mention, I don't have time, but the one thing that I left there with is that I will never forget. She said, and this was in 1996, she said to me that the most important appointment you will ever make in your diary as an entrepreneur is with yourself. And that stuck with me. And it's not easy. It's not easy to do that, but you have to take care. It's like, when you get on a plane, and we've all just come back from this incredible Saturday in Durban, with all these brave and courageous people who want to make a difference in the world. It was really just mind-blowing. And Hendrick will know that. But, when you get on the plane, they say, if in case of depressurization, when the oxygen mask falls down, put it over your mouth first before the person in the seat next to you, because you ain't going to be able to help them if you can't breathe. So it's no different in business. And yeah, there's so much I can say. And I think in terms just the customer-centric part, your values and everything, but I think I've mentioned that, will also define who you're going to work and who you're not going to work with. And Pete alluded to that. When you're starting out, it's not easy to say no to people, but if they don't align to your values, or if they're not going to do business ethically, and one of your business values, I hope, is business ethics, but we know that not everybody does do business ethically, are you able to say no? And the last thing I want to leave you with, if you want to find out if you are living your values, ask your customers for feedback.
I
They
love
will
that.
really tell you. That will be the real honest truth. Ask them for feedback on how you can do better, what was the experience with you, and so on. And don't be afraid to get constructive feedback. That's not negative feedback. If you ask it correctly, they will tell you whether you're living your values. Even in testimonials, I always look at people's testimonials, and you'll see a lot of words coming out in the values that they have, in the core values in their business. Anyway, I've now spoken far too much. So that's Stephen from Dare to Be, but I love the subject and it's so important, and I'm doing base camps, so I can't wait.
I love that. I love that, Mr. Levy. Yes, even though my workshops are it's a quarterly review workshop, but it's every 3 months, and a lot of times I have some of the same people, I still ask them to do the survey, because every time I want to know, is there something I can do better? What did you like? What didn't you like? You will stay, you won't grow if you don't ask for feedback. So, for sure. And yeah, like you said, feedback is not criticism, it's to help you grow. It's really your perspective on how you take this feedback. We'll do Hendrick, and then I do have a question, Marlon, from the live YouTube to ask you. We want to make sure. So Hendrick is from the last year's Ignite program. So students, this is what it looks like after you're done. So he gets to be in the room. But Hendrick, I'd love to hear, I always love to hear your perspective, because your product, your service, but you do something different than we do, most of us on the screen. So I always love hearing your perspective as a business owner. Go for it.
That's too much pressure on a Monday, but thank you. So for me, also, these are some of the things that I learned during the Ignite program. These are some of the things I learned with Marlon, and also my one-on-one with Mr. Levy. It's very important to know why you are going into business. It's very important to try to bring the people that you have, like your family, your friends, to see your vision, because those are the people that are going to push you when the going gets tough. It's also very important that as a business person, you need to know who you are, because who you are as a person will have to correlate with who you are as a business person. And you have to start with you as an individual first. I am a huge fan of a sneaker brand, Batu and Rip. Or let me just say the locally produced brands, sneaker brands. But I became even a bigger fan when I sent an email. It was just I just I'm going on my graduation soon. So as part of that, I actually sent them an email saying to them that I'd like to walk down the stage in your sneaker brand that's signed by the CEO of the company. I called these people, I think it was on Wednesday last week. And then on Friday, it was signed and delivered at my door. Wednesday, I received a call from them to say, yes, we're doing it. Thursday, I received a call from them saying, yes, unfortunately, on Wednesday, the CEO was not in the office, so we had to drive to his place, but we'll deliver the sneakers. I said, I've got so many sneakers, but those are special in the sense that my request went above what I expected from them. So it's very important to stay in touch with what your clients expect of you. It's very important to never get too big. And the reason I also mentioned the thing about family, that you need to be in touch with your family, you need to tell them of your dream so that they can support you early on, is because if there's something that Mr. Levy, whenever I meet you in any room, that comes to my mind is we need to disagree, but in that disagreement, we need to be able to respect each other. So if we cannot do that, we are definitely not going anywhere as people. We're not going anywhere as entrepreneurs. So the moment you've got people who can give you that constructive criticism and tell you that we don't see eye to eye with how you want to see things, but still give you better ideas, then you are blessed and you'll make it in business. That's Hendrick from Teresano Earth Movers, your lifting and rigging specialist from Mpumalanga.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you have a very specific answer. They over-delivered. You know what I mean? They're just like, hey, we're doing this. I gave you updates along the way. I always tell, I have a client, I'm like, are you sick of me yet? And he goes, no, why am I sick of you? Because I'm always like texting, meeting, email. And I'm just like keeping him in the loop all the time. It's finances, so it's a very touchy subject. So I very feel much I have to over communicate. I prefer to over communicate. I am not, if you under communicate with me, you can ask to be on the screen, I will get frustrated. So I love to over communicate. But let me ask this question, Marlon. Okay. Forgive me, students. I am in the US, so trying to pronounce names is definitely not my strength. So I will spell your name. It's spelled Muhle. And the question is, how do I just demonstrate commitment to a customer-centric culture?
Is that nuclear? But
Thank you.
But what the question was?
How do I demonstrate commitment to the customer-centric culture? How do you demonstrate that?
Well, Peter looks like he's really ready to answer that one. But look, so I think this ties in my view. So if you know what experience you're going to give your customers, so your customers, so I tend to do it the opposite way for my customers, right? Oops. My back. Okay, sorry about that. So I tend to do the opposite way for my customers. So usually what happens is between most of my customers, they come to me because they've done a lot of things to market themselves, but then they're not getting the money out. So then they wonder why, right? And obviously it's because the plumbing is leaking somewhere. So somewhere along the process of communicating to the customer, they've either lost their attention or just lost the customer's lost interest. So there's a simple way of like diagnosing it, whether we have engagement with our customers, and a lot of it actually comes down to what you said, Sondra, just around communication, right? Because if I'm in constant communication with you, it's very difficult for you to ignore me. But when it comes to creating that for that environment, it's really just knowing how would you like to engage with them. Like think about it like this. Imagine you go into a car wash and you say like, I leave my car here to get washed. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go and do whatever else. And you knew where your car was at any point in the washing bay. So, so when it's in the front, when it's getting rinsed, when they're putting on the soap, when they doing the vacuuming, and when it's done. And all of that is communicated to you. You're going to feel like they've treated you well. And if you can do that for your customer on all levels of how you deal with them, that's going to make them feel like they're part of the journey, like you've included them in the process. If you're in the service industry like I am, there's this need to like finish the work, give it back to them and say, this is where I'm at, what do you think? And then they give their feedback but they don't want to do it for you. They just want to know where you are along the way. And then you get in there, you constantly get in their approval so that they know exactly where you are throughout the process. So it's really about knowing the type of way that you want to serve your customer and how best you can constantly stay in contact so that they can feel a part of what you're doing. Because when it's done, they're not going to say, oh, I paid this person to do this. They're going to say, we did it. And that's really a customer-centric environment that you want to create. So that's how I think you should do it. It really comes back to you again, how you want them to feel. And then, like you guys had already said, if you're getting feedback from your customer, if there's this back and forth going on, especially at the end, how did you experience this? Not a survey, guys, because how many of you want to fill out surveys? I hate surveys. I hardly fill those damn things out. So it's really about understanding, about having that constant communication so you can get the feedback, so you can shift, tweak, and change and win the customers over.
I love that. I love that, Marlon. So I do surveys for workshops, but for clients, I do a full exit interview, which is verbal. So just FYI. And yes, you will notice, AKA Marlon will notice that I will bug him until he answers me. He can attest to that because we are currently in a communication cycle. Peter, come on. And you wanted to answer, but I had to give the expert first choice.
No. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I think Marlon nailed it. First of all, just because nobody likes filling in surveys, Igniters, that does not let you off the hook, because the surveys in the Ignite program are worth points, and you need those points. So you're going to fill in those surveys, like it or not. Something I wanted to add, especially in line with the question where it was, how do I show commitment? It's not about commitment. It's about you. You don't necessarily walk around going, how do I show commitment to being myself? You just be yourself. And you then put that into practice and take what is within you and implement it. And I think maybe when the commitment does come in is the moment that it is now in line with your clients, because you're not showing you're implementing something that's already naturally yourself, your values, your space, your culture that you've built into a space. But the moment the customer steps into the picture, that's when you need to show the commitment. And I think the thought process should be, if I was the customer, how would I want to be treated? How would I want to feel? How would I want to, when I leave, what do I want to leave in a rage? Do I want to leave upset? Do I want to leave feeling like nobody cared? Or do I want to leave going, wow, they actually really thought about me and how I would feel, and my experience was this, and I loved it, and I'll be back. That's customer centric. So I think it's very important that we even if you look at larger corporate spaces, one of the most difficult things on the face of the planet is to take a place that has an existing culture, and then maybe somebody at the top of management leaves and they get replaced, and then somebody in authority steps in, and now that person has to try and figure out that entire space and in a culture that already exists, and maybe they have different ideas. So for them to try and change that culture is one of the toughest things to do ever, because now they're trying to implement something and everybody's got a different way of viewing it. So they view it completely different, which means that nobody's in alignment, and it just creates chaos. And it takes a really, really skilled leader to step into a space like that with a culture and actually to change the culture. That takes, that's something Mr. Levy will know. That takes super, super skill. However, if you're looking to build a space and you're looking to build it right from the ground up, from the beginning, and create a space that possibly somebody else could step into, and the culture already works, it already does what it's supposed to do, which means that you've built it correct from the ground up. But don't build a space and then go, oh, it's not successful, I'm going to bring somebody else in later to build a culture. That is just the most difficult thing ever. You might as well close down and start again, because just there are people that can do it. I know Mr. Levy works with people that are currently doing it. Very brave souls, I must say. So I think for me, the point is start from the beginning. Start from the beginning. Build the culture right. And I think that anybody that has a space and gets to a certain point and goes, I want to build this into my culture, is one brave soul. Most definitely.
Oh, over here chatting with people on the YouTube chat. Sorry. I totally agree. And one thing I was going to say about Marlon, or one thing Marlon said about the car wash, the pizza companies in the US are very big on, you place your order online, and they literally will be like, Peter's making your pizza right now. Peter, put your pizza in the oven. Like it literally has like a bar graph or car, like some kind of graphic. Same thing with a lot of our pharmacies. They'll text you, hey, your order's ready, or you're due for renewal. Do you want us to help you? Da 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 da. So I know I've seen good customer service. I'm dealing with a big company right now that has not been great at customer service. And the person I did get on the phone was like, you're right, we've dropped the ball. And they just lost a almost $1,000 purchase because they did not provide good customer service. I will deal with some things, but it was zero communication. That was my issue. Zero communication. And that the delivery was not going to happen with not even close to what they said. And they never communicated that. So I'm very big on communication. And that's on you. That starts with you. If you're not willing to communicate, yeah, I do a lot of communication for a lot of my family members, and it gets very frustrating. But I also know that if I want something to get done, like this company that did not deliver on time, my husband was very upset. So I knew I had to call customer support and go, hey, what's going on? And yada, yada, yada. So if you're not great at doing customer support, bring somebody in that is. One of the clients I work for, I'm like, I'd rather be behind the scenes. I don't want to be the one, hyping everybody up and that's not, I can do it. Peter has proven that I can do hard things. As for he asked me to do this YouTube show a year ago, I was like, yeah, you're crazy. But now I do like it, but it's I'm not big on not always big on it. I have to I've grown into that, and you can grow and you can change. But in the meantime, if you know you're not good at it, bring somebody in, use your resources. You got them. You might not know them. That's why you talk to people, coaches and stuff to help you figure out what those are. That is one thing with my coaching service. One of the strengths, your weaknesses, and your resources. I'm very big on it. You can have a gazillion goals and action plans, but if you don't know who's doing what, when, and where, you're not getting anything done. You might stumble upon something and get it done, but usually it's not going to be sustainable, or you're not going to get it done. And then you're gonna be like, what happened? Like Marlon said, what happened? Where was the break? And that's one of the things I do in coaching is also where did it break down? So awesome. Hendrick, come on in.
Yeah, thank you, Sondra. I think also based on what Peter and Marlon are saying, even though they are arguing about it or not in agreement with it, it's with regards to surveys. It's very important to give those surveys, to do surveys, to request people to do appraisals or give you feedback based on the services that you give as a company, because those will help you when you do your self-introspection. Your surveys are actually part of your self-introspection. What your customers need, they will tell you. Some of them will be able to tell you through the feedback sessions. So a company that's customer-centric will always try to put those, will try to implement whatever the customers say they must implement without losing their values or who they are. Because at the end of the day, the more we give customers our service, they end up being part of us. And then every now and then, those are the very same people who will tell you that, but here you are missing a mark. We actually like the company because you guys offer services A, B, C, as compared to how Marlon's company does things. So I think it's very important to give people the chance to be able to give you that criticism if needs be, and be able to be honest with you, because it's not only about breaking you down, it will also assist in growing the company. Thank you.
I love that, Hendrick. This is a really good question. I'm actually going to let Mr. Levy answer this because I think he will have good insight. So Sarah, I can't when I can pronounce the name. Her question is, how do you find that fine line between over communicating and under communicating? Mr. Levy.
I think it really depends on, what you're communicating about. And just to ask, I think it's when you ask people for feedback, or not any feedback, when you've put a proposal forward or when you've done something for them, I don't think there's any sort of fixed formula for doing that. But for example, if you're asking for feedback, don't go back to them the next day and ask them, say, just following up, how did I didn't receive any feedback. We need to be mindful and respectful of people running their businesses. And generally the answers we're looking for, the communication that we're looking for, is not always top of mind for them. Having said that, in answer to Sarah's question, don't leave your customer hanging. So it's not about you, it's about them. And I don't think you can over communicate. If you use the example that Marlon gave on the car wash, there are certain points of this process or of the journey that you're going to communicate where you're keeping them in the loop as to where you are, what's happening, and so on. And from that respect, I think there are very few people that won't appreciate So I think the over communication comes maybe more when we're waiting for something for ourselves. Like, as I said, like you put through a proposal. If I put through a proposal, I just have, it's my own personal thing. I won't follow it up for at least a week. And then I will just say, you know, hi, short email, have you had a chance to have a look? And if not, there's no rush, just following up with you, because I also don't want them to think that I don't care. But if you're offering the service and you're keeping them in line with what, keeping them in the loop, I don't think you can over communicate too much with that. Having said, so I hope that answers Sarah's question. In terms of what has been spoken about earlier, and the question that was also asked earlier is, how do I commit to being customer-centric? My answer to that is Marlon explained it, and as Pete said, he hit the nail on the head, but I just want to say, my answer to that is, when you live your culture, okay, you'll be customer-centric, when you actually live it. Because I'm sure there are very few things in your values that are not going to align with your customer. And as I said, it doesn't align with everybody. But it's very much about, and it's not just because your culture is something that your client, that your competitors, it's the one thing that your competitors cannot copy. And I've seen it in, if you ask people what they value in their business, and a lot of people, you'll find they have the same values, like service excellence, teamwork, integrity, trust that. But I always look at service excellence. Service excellence for Stephen and service excellence for Marlon and for Hendrick and for Peter can all mean something different. We can interpret that differently. So I think it's not only about understanding what you value, it's about how do you interpret that? And you need to understand that. What does service excellence look like for me? And then am I going to, when I commit to that, I will commit to being customer-centric. And again, it's about living it. And the last thing I want to say is when you ask for feedback, okay, be open to it. And generally people have told me they're scared to ask, did I create a good experience for you? Because that's what it's about. The person that creates a good experience, they'll come back to you because you're not the only person supplying that per service or product in the world. So it's about the experience you create. But if you'd say to them, did you create, but I found something that does work is there anything that you would like to have seen me do differently? And asking that question, you'll probably get both. It'll answer what you did well and what your areas that you need to improve on. And it also allows your client to actually give you feedback, constructive feedback. So, and I've really experienced that. I use it and I insist on it. But tell me, because I need to grow, so I need your honest feedback. I need to grow and develop and keep improving my service. And generally, though, they're pretty open to that. So, and the only thing is, when they do give you feedback, just say thank you. And then shut up. Because when you answer their feedback with but, then you don't really want their feedback. Or you don't value it.
I think that's so true, Mr. Levy. Feedback is feedback. You have to either take it and make a change or take it and go, okay, well, I don't want to make that change. You get to decide. But yeah, people are going to have a bad taste in your mouth if you come back out lashing at them about that. So, Miwa, we're getting close to the top here. I don't want to keep students over. Peter, do you have something to say real quick? And then we'll let Marlon have a last tip.
Yeah, just I'll make them very brief. If you walk into a shopping center and I'm not going to name any brands or but you walk into a shopping center and you're doing food shopping and you're pushing your trolley around, and the staff that are packing the shelves don't feel obligated to move out of your way. You're not important. You have to now reverse and go around and go in the other side because the staff just don't, you're not important enough to move for them to move. It's not a space you want to be in. When you go shopping, you're just not going to go back there because you just don't feel valued as a customer. However, if you walk into a shopping center and you're walking down the aisle and somebody's in your way and they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and they move a trolley for you, please come through. And there's just that it's two different cultures. They can be the same brand. Maybe it's a franchise. They can be the same brand, but maybe different management. But the culture of that particular manager and the training of that staff and the culture of that staff is two different cultures, but it's the same brand. So sometimes to create, when you're creating culture, the power of that culture is basically creating a space that when people step into it, they feel comfortable, they feel respected, they feel like there's no stress involved in the situation. Their journey on going through all the different aisles, maybe they stop and they're like, "Oh my goodness me, I can't find the particular product." Can you even find somebody to ask? And all of a sudden, magically, everybody's just disappeared. Oh, there's no one to ask. So we're just going to walk around looking for somebody to ask. And then you find somebody and their response is, "That's not my department. I don't work in that department, so I wouldn't know. Go find somebody else." And instantly you have a bad experience. However, in the better culture, you stop somebody, you go, "Excuse me, I'm looking for this particular product." And they're like, "You know what, actually, I'm not too sure. Let me find the person that actually works with that. I'll bring them to you." And 2 seconds later, they've brought somebody to you, and that person goes, "Oh, you know what, that's an aisle 7. You might not see it because it's behind this, but there it is. Thank you so much. Brilliant experience." So you can have different cultures within the same brand. That's how powerful it is. Another thing I want to mention for the Ignite students in the background, your code word, #power is your code word for today. I thought I'd slot it in now and not right at the end. So it's hidden, like a hidden gem in there somewhere. And then the last thing I want to mention is on Saturday, I witnessed a bit of a really cool moment. And then Marlon was actually in your group and it was with one of your students in your space. And it was a brilliant conversation. And there was this conversation around perfecting the product before taking it to market. And you'll remember the conversation we were having. And you were talking about, no, start now, create content now, because you want your potential customers to be part of the journey of creating the product. So now not only are you creating a space for the customer after the product is built, but you're creating a culture that includes your customer in the process of the build of your product, so that by the time you have a product, you already have customers that are loyal to the culture of your space. And to me, that was an epic conversation. I stood on the sideline and I witnessed it, and I was like, "Yes, please." This is, that to me was absolute gold. Absolutely brilliant. So #power to the Ignite students. You know what to do with it. Send it to Somerville in a private message, not in the group. #power and share. And once you've shared, let her know, and then drop a message about what you have learned from this particular show. Very important. 3 things: #power, share, and a little message of what you've learned. Peter.
I love that. I love that, Peter. I also am reading what you learned so that I can grow as a host. So I think she sent me the one from 2 weeks ago. So Somerville is sharing that. So just FYI, I'm taking good and bad and want to know what you're learning. Marlon, you want to give us like a quick minute or 2 wrap up so we can wrap up, and then I'll do the announcements and stuff.
Thanks, Sondra and Peter. Right on. I think just to answer like the 2 questions, I think in a 4-letter word, the biggest way that you can do this, be more customer centric, is to care. And if you care for your customers, if you love what you do, then it becomes easier, right? Because it's a bit of a daunting task to have to ask for that feedback. It's a bit of a obnoxious task to really figure out all the processes that go into the things that you do. But the ones that take the most care in understanding all the things that makes them different is the ones that bring the biggest difference to their customers. So if you can just care a lot about your customers, it's going to make it much easier to go back, take that detail into place. Because I don't like an example is because I don't like forms, I don't hand out forms. So the way I run it is I'm very clear of the pit stops along the way. And because I'm clear on them, I can get quick feedback and improve what that process looks like for me. So when by the end, even the testimonial portion, I don't send them a blanket form for them to fill out. It's a conversation again. It's like, it's a literally, I think, Sondra, you mentioned, I don't know what did you call it? What you do with your customers?
Exit interview, because I'm a coaching client, so an exit interview.
Brilliant, because that's exactly where you can pick out the experience, because then they'll draw from all those little pit stops as well as now conclude it, because you're guiding them along it and you're with them in it. The ones that send hey, listen, just tell me what you get. You get a small percentage of the feedback, and most likely that will be the worst form of the feedback, that not the ones that have the best. Well, you'll have the ones that get the best experience and the ones that have the worst experience. The ones in the middle that are kind of central and level-headed, you don't get that feedback. So that's my thing. So I think at the end of the day, as long as you care about your customer, you're going to create a customer-centric environment.
Love that. Love it. Thank you so much, Marlon, for taking time out of your day to come hang out with us. We do pride ourselves on having experts in our community, and we want to make sure we bring on the right people to have these conversations. So not only do the students learn, but also the public. I mean, this is a public show, which is why we're asking you to share it so that we can reach more entrepreneurs all over the world. We want a special shout out to Susan. She does our show notes, which has all our LinkedIn links in it. So you can look us up on LinkedIn, schedule a coffee chat. I know I do coffee chats all the time. Schedule one with me, and Mr. Levy does. Most of us do. So check us out on LinkedIn and schedule coffee chats with us. We love to hear from you. We are also on Spotify. If you are on Spotify, please share. Please listen to, I think it's like you have to listen to 2 whole episodes, and then you can rate us. So that helps us get, again, more eyes on our show. So we want to help others. And then, of course, Miss Somerville, who also helps with social media and emailing the show and so on and so forth. She is amazing. The catchphrase when I came into Explore ProTech was you needed to get yourself a Somerville, just not that one, because that was Peter's. It's not true. She helps a lot of people. So I am Sondra. I am the owner of Get It Done Coaching. I help you reach your goals one action step at a time. And Mr. Peter, will you give us our sign out?
Oh, okay. So our sign off, which was originally created by my co-founder Nastine, goes along the lines of, may all your wildest entrepreneurial dreams come true.
Thanks,
Bye for now.
guys. See you.